I'm a former professional golfer. I'm an Asian Games medalist, and I played professional golf for about 7 years and represented India in the sport of golf for about 4 years. And it's been an interesting journey so far, and now I am I've changed my path a little bit. I now teach golf. I'm a former professional golfer. I played for India for about 4 years and got an Asian Games medal as well. So, you know what, I'm going to be talking from a couple of, angles over here today. One is definitely from the sporting line, wherein, I've gone through a patch of playing professionally, and also now I do completely other things. I run an online business which is related to the sport of golf, and I also teach golf to kids who want to, they aspire to turn professional, and even anyone else who wants to become better, but predominantly to kids who are, looking at going big in the game of golf. I'd actually say that, this is very much a story of learning from mistakes than from the successes. But anyhow, what I will do now is we'll get into a little bit of the career side of things of an athlete, vis-a-vis going into businesses after that. So one of the most important things, like as what Institute of Sports Science and Technology does, is to provide platform to former athletes or even people who are from the other spheres of life in terms of getting into the sporting world, in the sporting business world. So that's a great thing today. We didn't have that in the past. We had only one path, which was to become an athlete or not. So that's one of the good things that I see happening today. I played golf for India from 2008 onwards up till 2011, and within this span represented the country over various tournaments overseas, as well as over Asian Games and the World Cup of Golf. So these were some of the highlights. I was also a 3-time national champion, and thereafter went on to playing a professional career for about 7 years, and recently completely changed the path and went into the business line. And in fact, interestingly, one of the key points of my business called Golf Garage. We are an online portal for selling pre-owned golf equipment, and we certify it before we sell it. And one of the key things that we do is to make golf affordable. As you know, golf is known to be an elitist sport, and the reason that I got into this was a pain point even for me. Back in the day when I was playing the sport, the cost of equipment was relatively high. So that's one of the reasons that I started with this business line. Then, coaching is something that I do now very, very passionately. I am extremely passionate about teaching kids and helping them grow to a great point in their careers, as good as they can be, and hopefully, help them through to actually become as good as they can be. Not really, let's not look at the world perspective over here. I'd actually say that I'd like to see kids become the best that they can be. And the good thing today with institutes like ISST and all is that the avenues are really opening up. So even within the golf industry, I know that a lot of people over here wouldn't know much about it, but I still want to speak a little bit about the golf industry and how it provides multiple opportunities to anyone who wants to enter this. So starting from green staffs to club staff to caddies, and even administration, coaching, tournaments, events, media. So all of this essentially provides a ton of opportunity for anyone who wants to enter the golf management side or the golf business side of things. And I think it should be a really, really encouraging thing for any of you who is looking at getting into the line of going along with sports businesses, or looking for a job within the sports industry. There are many avenues for you and your friends within the golf industry as well, and I think you should explore that. It's a really growing industry. Southeast Asia is definitely one of the biggest places right now. in terms of golfing, and be it tourism or be it within the country, be it coaching, be it events. So the game is only growing, and I think it's a befitting time for anyone who would like to be joining this industry. So having said that, I'd like to dwell a little bit deeper into the coaching side of things and my journey as a professional. And essentially, the way I teach the kids that I teach is through my experiences. I do have a variety of certifications, but I think what I'm able to teach my students via my experience as a golfer who has played at a level of competition and at a level of which gets elite and pressure filled, I think I'm able to teach them a lot better because of that. And as athletes, I think one of the greatest things that we sort of lose out on keeping in mind is that mentally how you deal with things is really far greater than how you're actually going to technically approach things, right? So that's the way I prefer to teach my students. As a golfer, I was in the past, I had my own ups and downs, and luckily all of them have culminated in a career today which I can say that is positive in its approach. So that with Golf Garage as such, what we are trying to do over here is to make the equipment cost a lot cheaper than what it is currently in the country, and even elsewhere in the world. It is something which is quite expensive and a deterrent for people to enter this space. So what we are essentially doing is we are providing people with pre-owned golf equipment, just like a second-hand car. And what we do is we refurbish these goods and then we sell them to the consumer. So this provides people with a completely usable piece of equipment at probably 70% of the MRP. So that's usually the kind of price bracket we deal with. We are at least 60 to 70% lesser than what the market price of a product will be. So I think that really cuts down the cost of people who want to play golf, and this is the way that we can really encourage more and more people to come in. Going into the business side of things hasn't been the easiest thing, I would say, for me, because being a professional athlete, I don't think this is something that you even envisage yourself doing. You are really looking at just touring around the world and playing tournaments. And suddenly I entered this space of online business, and I had a lot of learning to do, and which any of you, if you would do that, there are a couple of ways to go about it, if I may. Of course, the most easiest is to just go out and do a course, and it is also the most common thing to do, and I did none of that. So I got into the online business space just strictly by the virtue of having an idea and using an Instagram page to sort of grow the idea. And when we did that, I saw that there were people who wanted to play, and there are people from very much smaller towns in the country, B-tier towns as we call them, who are willing to play the sport of golf, and the entry barrier of equipment was there. So these kind of things encouraged me totally into starting the website. And what we have been able to do along with it is, of course, we have a long way to go as of now, but it's been a great journey. We've connected with a lot of people who are from different spaces of life, but what has happened is that various cities, small B-tier towns have gotten in touch with us. We are now in touch with academies who need equipment to grow the game of golf, and all of these things have really culminated together to making a complete package in terms of what we were trying to do essentially. So when we actually got into the space of the online business, of course it's still a relatively new thing for India to see online equipment and second-hand equipment, but I think we are going at a pace where we will be able to go into growing the sport, even if that means by 2%, and I think that's a great thing. Having said that, the online business space I think is great, and even in today's time, if you look at it, with the whole COVID-19 situation, I think online businesses are the way to go forward. So even in the sporting line, there would be tons of online things that are happening. There are online coaching seminars, there are online coaching happening. Even I teach online to my kids every alternate day. So with all of this, I think we can only use this as an advantage today and take it forward with us going into the time of post-COVID-19 era, because I think the growth and development of sports as such, and not only sports but also on the complete business side of things, is going to be going towards the internet world. So we are here now, and I'm glad we entered this space a couple of years ago. We are only going to take this forward going after into the post-COVID-19 era, or let's say the mid-COVID-19 era, because we don't know, we might all still be starting to open up businesses pretty soon. So having said that, in the line of sports, I want to encourage a lot of people who join institutes like what Dr. Vipul has created. I remember this institute has been there for quite some time, and the number of courses that they have brought up has been pretty good. And I'm glad to see that, because back in the day when I was looking for such courses, we had none of these available in India, and it's a great thing to see now. And I'm glad that in a small way I'm being a part of it by speaking with you all today. So getting into the space of sports management involves not only there's of course event management, everyone knows about that. There is also journalism, the sports journalism part, which is an extremely important part. Remember that media is the most important driving factor to grow sports, or grow anything pretty much for that matter, but sports essentially. So we also have that in the picture. We also have the management of facilities now. The facilities are really growing. There are a lot more coaching facilities also available. So coaches, ground staff, all these facilities are going to be big in the future. Sports science has grown immensely over the years. The amount of research that even I read for my own teaching is huge. The amount of biomechanics that we have to read through. It's great to have such science available, and it only opens up more avenues for more and more people who would want to come into this space. So I don't want to dwell too much into just golf, because I understand that the audience of the ISST would be people from all spheres of sporting world. But essentially I'd also like to talk to a few athletes who there are times in an athlete's life that they would find it a little difficult to they're probably wondering what else to do in life, and if they want a B plan and all of that, and it is a very normal thing. I'm just saying it out aloud. So when you have these kind of thought processes and all that, I'd really request you to just take a break. There are a lot of avenues for everyone available. It's just about you putting your mind to it, and also finding yourself that one thing that interests you the most. It could be coaching, it could be the mind space, it could be the sports science space, it could be a multiple number of things. But essentially I really want to encourage people that there is nothing to feel low and down about. I'm sure that that is something that can happen, but be positive about it. And if you just sit down calmly, just like the way you would sit down before playing a tournament, to calm yourself down, I'd say sit down in that fashion, and you will be able to assess which is that space in the sports line that you would like to enter. I see a lot of people who go into athlete life and then they leave it and they go into other spaces, which could be finance or banking, or they could go into an event management company, which could be completely not related to sports. So what I essentially would request you all is that you have a lot of experience in the line of sports. You have played professionally, you have been an athlete. The kind of experience that athlete life gives you is something that you would not get anywhere else, and you can totally use your experience in the sporting industry itself. If you were to go by data, the sports industry is only going upwards. So this is a great time to be a part of it. There are courses of football management, cricket management, all of that. So it is just a matter of you sitting down and putting your head to it. Of course, if you feel that you just don't want to be in the field, so be it. But I think there are enough and more opportunities available for you and me and many others to sit down and be able to explore them. And it is one of the greatest advantages that I have felt as a former athlete, to be running a online business and to be running a coaching gig now with students who want to turn professional, is that I can speak to them from where they are. I understand what it is like to be in their space. So to be able to do that, I think is extremely essential, especially from the coaching perspective, and even in the online business perspective today. I see that when I'm speaking with a customer of mine who understands that I understand the game of golf, for them to connect with me and to be able to pick up a piece of equipment or to believe what I'm saying is far greater. Okay, I'm not saying that I'm the last word in this, but it definitely helps someone on the other end to know that you understand where they stand. So I definitely have to keep all of this into perspective for anyone wanting to pursue a career in sports, right? Getting medals and winning and everything, it's a part of the game. You will get them, they will go and they will all sit in a cabinet later on, but the essential things that we learn from sport are like the usual things of discipline, sacrifice, this and that. And all of these things, when they culminate together, you will realize that much later in life, that how when all these things actually sit together, you are able to assess things. And one of the greatest strengths that golf or athlete life gave me was to not give up, right? So even if you were having a bad hole, you were having a bad day, or you were having a bad tournament, either way, the only idea that you had was go practice, you have the next tournament coming up, and go practice and you have a next tournament coming up, or work on what you have to work on, then you move on and you start it again. And you're always in this assess and work mode, assess and work more, and assess more and work more. And this kind of training over the years has actually helped me today in working on anything that I work in terms of my businesses, or even for me to coach. Because essentially the reason that I'm here today is because I've been able to train myself in that manner, that no matter what will happen, I will still pick myself up and start again. So I would really request each of the people who are watching this, you should use this, the springboard that sports gives you as an opportunity, the things that sports teaches you as a learning. And this is what will help you, whether you become an athlete or not, doesn't matter. Whether you run a business or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is what sports will teach you will enable you to do all these things, right? So when you are enabled enough in terms of your practices, you will be able to use it in your workspace when you turn 40, 45, 50, whenever you choose to do something else in life. And this is the greatest learning of sport. I think there is the greatest learning of sport is not medals, and it is not in trophies. It is definitely in the learning that it gives you, the learning from the failures. Not much learning from successes, believe you me, but the learning from failures that you will get. And this is not being this is not like my statement. It's a statement that has actually been said by various old timers, old players, old presidents of worlds and all of that, of countries and stuff like that. So, and it is the absolute truth. So going into a little bit more about so we got one of these things over here that someone is talking about. I used to watch Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy and other golf legends playing the sports on live TV. But today I got the opportunity to watch and learn some lessons about the sport. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much, Zenia. The thing is that, I know that, we have been able to, we have been able to get some medals and some trophies and all that. But essentially that's not what's going to stick with us for the rest of our lives. You know, that trophy is still there with me, the medals are still there with me, but what helps me on a daily basis are the learnings. You know, the fact that I got to push myself harder than I can or I want to is something that I really take back from the sports world. So, you know, once again, I'd like to give a big thank you to Mr. Bhatia. Also, Mr. Bhatia has been a great coordinator in all of this, and also Mr. Dr. Lunawat for giving this opportunity, and you know, the whole essence of me being able to speak about my career as an athlete and moving into the other spaces of the sport thereafter. I also do a little bit of mentoring for students of mine, or even people who do not coach with me, but you know, want direction in their career in terms of planning their sporting career a little bit. I also help with that. So anyone who wants to reach me can very easily reach me through my Facebook page, or even my email. It's rahulbajajgolf@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to help if anyone needs that sort of direction. So yeah, so basically, you know, all in all, it's been great so far, and we're only looking at growing further on. And a big thanks again to ISST for organizing this. So you know, if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them up over here, so that if you know, there are any queries or questions about the golf world, about the sports management world, about the you know, maybe the amount of opportunities that are there in this line of, then that'll be great. How many trainees are learning from you in your academy? So I have about 13 students right now, but we have them all scattered out. I don't run an academy. I coach at a club, and all my students turn up over there to learn from me. So what we have is we've got individual sessions and we've got group sessions, and with the elite player I like to do a lot of strategy sessions as well, on the golf course. And even, you know, just by sitting down, sometimes we do a lot of stat work. So that's what we do. So Asian Games journey, so yeah, that was a very interesting time actually. So I actually started winning national events back in 2008. So that's when the journey really started. I started playing full-time amateur golf, I think mid of 2006 or 2007. Won my first national event thereafter in 2008, and won a few more afterwards. So the story started in 2008 when I made it to the B team of the Indian team, going to Sri Lankan amateur to play for India, and that was my first visit outside the country. Thereafter I played a lot of events in you know, the Southeast Belt. Then I played the Asian Games in China and the World Cup in Argentina. The thing about the Asian Games, you know, is what we do not realize actually, and this is something which is the greatest fact about the Asian Games, is that when you come back to India winning a medal and wearing it in your neck, the amount of people clapping for you at the airport, the number of people who come to receive you at the airport is magnanimous, and that really makes you understand the magnitude of what you've done. When you come back and with an Asian Games medal in your neck, even the auto rickshaw driver knows what you've done, you know, opposed to even winning any other tournament. And that is the greatest feeling, I think, you know, when you land up at the airport wearing the blazer and the medal and the claps going on, you know, from everyone, from the support staff at the airport, from the, you know, the air hostesses over there, or the pilots over there, or the other passengers. That's just an amazing feeling, which is hard to describe in words, really. So in terms of getting into the Asian Games, you know, we went through a qualifying process to get there. The top 8 amateurs of the country had to go through a qualifying process, and we did that. I was number 2 in the country at the time, and thereafter we went into some coaching camps, and we had a lot of training, and that's actually one of the first time that I started training on my fitness a lot, and that culminated further into getting the medal, of course. The Asian Games within the tournament, it's very hard to describe, but I will still try to do my best. The situations of pressure that arise in terms of uh, playing at that level is immense, and you have to really train yourself mentally to be able to handle that. No amount of technical work is really going to help at that point of time. It is how you're mentally reacting to pressure at that point. And I still remember I had about an 8 feet putt on the last hole to make at the Asian Games for us to win the medal. It was there was a slope on the green, and I needed to make it was a curvature of a left to right, huge curvature, so I had to really play it about 6-7 inches outside of the hole to make that. And I cannot even begin to tell you how shaky I was while making that. And I'm glad that it went in, but the way that you feel under that pressure is something which is hard to describe. But essentially, as an athlete, the biggest kick that I ever had was the pressure situation that is created. The fun in playing competitive sports in me was to get into competitive positions which exhibit pressure onto you, and that's what I used to totally love about playing. From a golfer to a silver medalist to a coach, how has it been the transition? So as I spoke at the beginning of this session, the transition has been a little difficult in the beginning, I would say. I wasn't even mentally willing to do it in the start. I didn't want to, stop playing sport. But it all eventually panned out that way. So it wasn't very easy in the beginning. I had a very difficult time, especially starting my online business, because I had no idea what to do. So I used to spend hours and hours on my computer. And to be honest with you, I used to spend hours at the computer, just staring at the screen. I had no idea how to start this thing. I used to read blogs and watch YouTube videos and try to see how I can best do this, but I could still never figure it out. So it was a very slow and steady process. It took me a while, but now we are here, and now I'm a lot more relaxed about it, and I'm glad that I was able to get through that time. It took me about a year, about 14 months or so, all in all, to be able to put all of these things into perspective and started. So yeah, the journey was a slightly difficult one, but I would say it's not impossible. So if someone else wants to do this, I'll be happy to give you a helping hand, so that at least I can shave off 6 months off that 12-month period. You'll still go through the 8 months of struggle, I can guarantee you. So yeah, we still have a long way to go in terms of the business. The business is only growing. It's just the start for us. But I can happily tell you one thing, that we're in the green, and as a small company which has just started, for us to be in the green, I'm a happy man. We're not worried about how we're going to go and where we're going to go with this. I'm very sure that we are going to keep growing and take this forward. So yeah, so there's positivity brewing everywhere in all of this, and I'm very sure that whether you're an athlete or not, there is enough opportunity out there for you. There are companies like mine, there are other companies that are coming up, there are colleges, there are coaches, there are facilities, all of these over there. So opportunities and opportunities for you. It's just a matter of you putting your head together as to how you're going to use them. Yeah. So I think we are pretty much done with the questions over here. I'd just like to take one last minute and just say a big thanks to Dr. Lunawat, and also ISST. I think we have one more question. What goes on in a typical tour? So a typical tournament, if I were to tell you, doesn't start from the tournament. It begins actually back home. It starts with tons and tons of practice, tons of mental work, fitness work, keeping yourself up and ready for, and you also have to put your perspective into how you are, what kind of a golf course you're going to play. So you're going to be preparing accordingly. So you could have your own technical deficits, and then there are also technical things that you have to prepare for a particular golf course. So you're preparing shots and all that, and getting proficient with them before you actually set out to play the tournament. And then of course there is the usual take a flight, get in the hotel and check in and stuff. But the essential thing is that a tournament usually lasts over 6 days, which is the practice round. There is a pro-am where we play with club members and head honchos of various corporate firms who are sponsors into these events. And then we go into a 4-day tournament which lasts over 72 holes, which means an 18-hole round on a daily basis. The lowest score over these 4 days is what actually ends up winning the tournament. And golf is not the easiest sport in the world. It does seem so. I know that, and I've seen that there are a lot of people who think that golf is an easy sport, but one of the reasons that golf becomes a very difficult sport is actually that it's played over 4 days. Each round is over 4.5 hours, and break that down, you are actually hitting shots for maybe only 20-25 minutes in the complete round. The rest of the time is dead time, and keeping your mental space up and your stamina up to do this over 4 days is an extremely difficult task, and that's what really makes golf a difficult sport. The people do not understand also one more thing, that in the golf swing we have many muscles that move around, and that makes the golf swing a very complicated thing, and that's exactly where the sports science section helps us out. So when we have the golf swing as a complicated thing, we have dead time as a complicated thing, all of these going on together, and of course the pressures of playing sport under situations where you're trying to win the tournaments is another deal altogether. So having said that, that's usually what a tournament is like. The tournament broken down from 4 days is actually the first 2 days is taken as cut. So what happens is that if 144 players, that's what usually entered in the tournaments I played, 144 players entered the tournament, only 50 players made it to the last 2 rounds of the tournament. The rest of the 90 players actually went home empty-handed. It's the top 50 guys who make the money, and even in that top 50 you make money in a slab basis, just like the IT slab goes on, wherein the top guy makes about 15% of the prize purse, and going downward the 50th position is very little money. So that's essentially how it goes on in pretty much every tour in the world. So that makes the life of an athlete or the life as a professional golfer a challenge, because you are competing amongst 144 guys trying to finish in the top positions, making cut lines, and then thereafter also making the money. So that's also something that adds on completely to the line of how difficult golf can be to play. It's not the easiest sport. I'd actually like to, if I were to explain this to a layman, I can tell you golf is like a game of chess played on grass. That's pretty much what golf is. You have a lot of strategizing to do, you have a lot of stamina required, be it mental stamina or physical stamina. We don't understand, but 4.5 hours of being out in the sun. Before that I've done 1 hour of warm-up. Before that I've done 1 hour of stretching, and going forward I will do 2 hours of practice at the end of the day, and then another workout. So when I do all of these things together, that makes my day into a 10-hour or an 11-hour day. 11 hours being out there in the sun, working out and doing all these things exhibits a lot of pressure on your fitness levels. So you have to be ready for all of that as well. So that's the reason that the life in sports is not that easy. You actually have a lot more to do than just play a round of golf. People think that you're just going there and playing golf. It's not just golf. There's a lot of other things that go into the background of things. So that's what a typical tournament would usually look like. Being a professional is pretty much doing all these things together. Golfer do I idolize? So it's actually a great question. I've never really looked at, I've never really had big idols. I can say that I do look up to Tiger Woods, and I do look up to Justin Rose, and I like golf swings of people like Robert Rock and Louis Oosthuizen. But having said that, if I were to give you an idol in terms that I would definitely follow on a regular basis, I do not. And the reason for that is that I just think that I want to be the best that I can be. I don't really want to completely idolize someone. If you ask me if I look up to someone, there are a lot of greats out there like Tiger and Justin Rose and all of these people that I really look up to. In the Indian space, I can definitely tell you that Arjun Atwal and Jeev Milkha Singh are two people that I really look up to, and I think what they have done for the sport in the country, not many people realize it, but they are the flag bearers of Indian golf, and they are the ones who put us up there on the map. in the world. So as a part of the golfing fraternity, I would definitely say they are the leading packs of Indian golf, and there's so much to learn from them. It's not even funny. So about the golf ball, so the golf ball is really it's got various layers. So there is a urethane layer, and there's cork in the middle. I'm not really sure about what goes on into wounding it. There are dual core balls, there are triple core balls, there are single core balls, but I'm not very well versed in that. So the golf ball essentially is designed according to the kind of play that you have. So depending on the kind of player that you are, depending on the kind of power you exhibit in your golf swing and the pressure you create on the ball, you should choose a golf ball according to that. The dimples in the golf ball actually help us to be able to spin it and for it to get through the air a lot better. So those are the things. The golf ball has really evolved over the years as well. With technology, it helps us in hitting it a lot straighter now than we did earlier. But having said that, that's also got a lot of negatives to it, because you can't curve the ball as much as you could earlier, which is very essential to playing golf. Just like Bend It Like Beckham, curving the golf ball is extremely essential in golf as well. So those are a few things about the golf ball. To be honest, I'm not very well versed in the details of the golf ball, so I wouldn't be able to touch upon much on that. If you ask me about equipment, I can speak a lot more about that, because the equipment industry is what I'm into right now. We haven't yet started selling golf balls. Maybe we will do that in the future, and I would learn a lot more, but as of now we don't. So yeah, I think that should cover it for now, and just to so great insight shared on the golfing domain. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhatia and Dr. Lunawat, for having me here, and ISST. Thanks a lot, not only for doing the webinars, but also for actually having an institute in the country where people who are associated with sport can go and learn. Which is a great thing. We have had a dearth of these in the past, and I'm glad that you are the flag bearers in taking this forward. So thank you so much for having me on here. And if anyone wants to reach me for any help required in helping you with charting your professional career in the line of sports, you can reach me on my Facebook or even on my mail at rahulbajajgolf@gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to help. My details are also there on my website called golfgarage.in, so you can also reach me out over there. So thank you so much once again, and hope I'll see you all soon. Stay safe and stay home and stay healthy, and hopefully we'll be out of this pretty soon. I think things are looking better, and hopefully we'll be all out. Thank you so much.